We're not. Okay, perfect. We're almost here. It's almost the day we've been waiting for, the individual qualifier. I'm so excited. Dee, have you managed to recover from the team final?
Yeah, I have thought about it a lot, though. It's what great sport is about. I think, when actually it does take a couple of days and you still feel like you're decompressing and processing some of the stuff that happened. And I still think there's so much to discuss on it. Like the way that this roller coaster of a sport works, we're going to move on from Paris at some point, and you're going to roll into Dublin. You're going to roll into, a big Grand Prix and big Nations Cup over in Brussels after that. And I don't know yet, Charlotte, where we're going to put in our moment to decompress and actually really process all of this stuff, because certainly I don't feel like a couple of days of the last couple of days don't feel like enough to be dealing with, well, all of the things that unfolded in the team jumping final. Sweden not winning a medal, the Dutch just missing out, the US climbing back and being a rail away from, an absolutely kind of perfect Scott Brash, Hello Jefferson round away from the US actually coming back and taking gold. There's a lot. There is a huge amount that I think we'll come back to, but at the risk of turning this into a review, I've just about processed some of it. I feel there's a huge amount more to go. But having to kind of draw a line under it, attention turns to tomorrow. We'll see 75 of the best combinations in the world line up, and they will become 30 for the jumping final on Tuesday. So again, kind of like the qualifier for the teams, where 20 teams become 10, they will reset. So tomorrow is going to be about getting through. Tomorrow is going to be about a conservative, clear jumping round. Don't be too slow. If you have a rail, make it a fast. Yeah, make it a fast rail and hope for the best. I think that's going to make it really interesting. I think it's going to make it a really interesting thing to watch. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, me too. And we've got obviously some combinations that we haven't seen in the team qualifiers and finals, the individual combinations that didn't come here with a team that we'll be seeing for the very first time. They've been in Paris for a while as well, and they've been watching all the team competitions, and I bet that they're itching to get out in that ring as well and qualify for the final. We have four horses exactly coming in who have jumped both the team qualifier and the team final entirely clear. So four horses going in with a clear slate. That's Caracol de la Roque for Carl Cook for the USA, Imagine for Kim Emmen for the Dutch, who both of those horses were late subs. It really has been the Olympics of the substitutions, so that's really interesting. And then we have Zinde for Philip Whiteout, and then Daniel Coyle for with Legacy for Ireland. So last Olympics, I think in Tokyo, there was only one horse that completed the entire championship on a clean slate, and that was King Edward, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
King Edward now enters this Olympics as the favorite to win, but has already faltered. How are we feeling? Let's get right in there. How are we feeling about King Edward being the favorite coming into the individual qualifier at the Paris Olympics?
I'm pleased. I'm trying to put these things in order. So in the same way as I didn't want to focus too much on the individual win chance going into the team qualifier, because I think it can be misleading. I'm pleased and excited that he's currently favorite. But I do think that tactics come into tomorrow a lot. And I do think that I think there's still a possibility that we're going to see a little bit more movement in those win chances based on what we see tomorrow. For example, if Legacy for Daniel Coyle, or even if Imagine for Kim Amen, who, let's be honest, I think firstly, we didn't expect to see jumping here at all. And right now, probably sit an interesting thing for me today will actually be listing those 75, Charlotte, and drawing a line somewhere at the middle of it. And I think that's what's helpful to people, and probably something that we'll publish on our social media this evening, which will be how would we rank the top 75 if we were using a rating? And then can we allow form to come into that? Because I think Kim Amen would Imagine sits, I think, probably just outside the top 30 of the ratings. But if you're to take the form that we've seen in the last couple of days, you would really hope and expect that Kim Amen is going to be able to give us at least one more clear and see herself into Tuesday's final. And that feels very deserved and something that you'd want to see. Are you frozen, or are you just looking at me really intently? You might be okay. It might be just me. Okay. Well, where am I? I am at a point, Charlotte. If you come back, I'm nervous about how perfectly still you are. How would I approach it? I think, and I'm just going to keep talking on the basis that hopefully you are going to come back at some point. Just me now. My dream, just to be able to do this on my own. I'm joking, of course. I think one interesting way of approaching what we're going to be looking at is as I say, to not consider your back. Thank God, Imagine. You there? You happy? You can hear me
I'm
again?
back.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
That's okay. Where I was, Charlotte, is if you take the top 75 or the 75 combinations that we're going to see lining up tomorrow, and you're to try and split them in half, I think that's when it begins to get interesting, because naturally, I think we're drawn towards things like win chances, and we're going to talk about King Edward. We're going to talk about Martin Fuchs with Leonie J. We're going to talk about Max Kuhner, who we haven't seen a whole lot of because Austria didn't progress beyond the qualification stages of the team competition, so we didn't see them in the final. Of course, we didn't see Leonie J and Martin Fuchs or Dynamix. 2 rails down for Steve Gerdin and Dynamix in the first day of jumping into qualifier. So where I'm going with this is, I think one way of looking at tomorrow, rather than taking the final win chances, and we're going to see those 3 big boys, Leonie J, Electric Blue P, and King Edward. We're going to see those 3 big fellas right close to the top of the win chances tonight. However, what changes between tomorrow and tomorrow night? And I think it's probably anyone else adding a clear round. For example, as I was going there when you were just freezing, Charlotte, Daniel Coyle and Legacy, if they were to add another clear round in, where does that begin? I mean, you can't but feel like you're going to have to take a lot of that form into the calculation for Tuesday. Kim Amen and Imagine, Cara Cole with Carl Cook, and who am I missing? There's one more. There's one more to add of the people
Legacy,
coming in here.
Zinde
and Philip Weishout, who obviously had an incredible 2023 season, a little bit patchier for Philip and Zinde in 2024. But for anyone following that story closely, and we were lucky enough to spend a little bit of time with Philip. We were just coming in and out a little bit. Are you back? I don't know if it's only me. It might just be me.
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Okay.
And I also just want to mention, I know we're talking about, but Dallas Vegas Batilli also hasn't knocked a rail, but she just didn't have that one-time penalty in the team final. So
Now, it could just be me. And if I am the one that just can't hear you, then I'm going to have to apologize from my side. But your Wi-Fi is coming out a lot. But look, this is live entertainment. I'm gonna text you and see if I can get you to set up again. Okay, I'm gonna text you, gonna set up again, and then we're gonna try come back in. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And what we'll do is, for anyone listening, I'll draw a line tonight using ELO on the top 25, top 30 using ELO. Okay, Charlotte line is very poor. Okay, that's fine. As long as I know it's that what's going on, that makes it a little bit easier. What I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to go through. There's 75. I'm not going to go through all 75. That would drive you mad. But what I'll have a look at is where is that 30 mark. So rather than thinking too much about win chances, because I don't think the riders necessarily are going to be thinking about winning tomorrow. I think what the key thing they're going to be looking at is who gets through. So where does the clear round? What do they need to do just to progress? The first few I think are kind of obvious in terms of progressing all the way through, and that means you're looking at King Edward. You're back. You're in. I see you again. You're moving.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Super. Yeah, no, you're back. I'm going through the list, Charlotte. Top group that we expect to see tomorrow: King Edward Dynamics, Julian Epiard, Dubai de Cedra, Shane Sweetenham, and James Can Cruz, Leone J, Martin Fuchs. Top 5 rated horses coming in here tomorrow using ELO. I don't expect really any issues for any of them. Okay, Shane Sweetenham, James Can Cruz had a rail. King Edward had a rail. Dubai, I think, also had a rail. Dynamics had 2. Interesting. Actually, none of this group of the top 5 ELO rated horses, none of them were perfect. Or you could pick a hole in all of them over the first couple of days. But in terms of having to produce a clear round under pressure, you would expect that group are all well able to deliver under pressure.
And I also want to talk about the Swiss for a quick second, because they didn't qualify for the team final. It's like, I think I compared it before to having a horse on stable rest for a week and then coming out and having to ride them. They are going to be so motivated to try and bring home a medal for Switzerland, because they missed their chance to do it in the team final.
And I think 2 of them, maybe one of them in particular, and you'll not like me saying that, because I know the other one is your horse crusher, one of your many horse crushes. But I just feel there's something there for Martin Fuchs and Leone J. I think the form, as long as they progress tomorrow, which again I don't expect there to be any issue with, what we need to begin to bring people into the story on for Tuesday's final is actually that we start for the first time thinking about jump offs. So up until now, everything that we've seen in Paris has been in that all about the single under pressure, clear round delivery. And yes, we saw in the final how important speed was. You could argue even that James Can Cruz and a couple more, the rail came from that final rail. Maybe you'd say the same with Gilles Thomas and Hermitage, where you saw that last rail come in a very similar fashion, chasing the clock a little bit, where actually as you went beyond that, those first line of riders, it felt a little bit more like people were willing to take that 1 second or 2 seconds over to keep all the rails up. For the first time on Tuesday, we're going to see jump off tactics coming into play, and I think that's when Leone J and maybe a United Touch, certainly a King Edward, and those jump off records are going to be something that we're going to talk about a lot. Up until Tuesday, maybe we'll save all of that for the Monday night preview. So tomorrow night when we're back on and we only have 30 to deal with, and excitement will be higher again, we'll come into what it means in terms of the jump offs. For now, Charlotte, I'm going to take that first 5 as pretty safe to go through. I know that's a dangerous thing to say, and I know that they make fools of us again and again, but for the sake of going through 75 horses, I think I would take those top fellas as well able to deliver a clear round tomorrow. Your next group, your next 10 in the list, I would say is fairly similar again. I've got Beauville for Michael van der Vleuten, of course, actually bidding to come back here and try to become one of only 3 horses. So becoming the third, is that right?
Yes, exactly it.
To become the third horse to win an individual silver medal for a second time. No, an individual medal for a second time.
Yes, exactly.
Peter and H&M all in secured the second one of those at the last Olympics in Tokyo. It had been 100 years since a horse had come back to win a second individual medal. So Beauville bidding for that. Beauville and another kind of old star veteran, actually 3, I'm going to take 2 of them in a row here. Beauville, Calum de Us, and for Jérôme Guéry. And then Petter again, but this time with Catch Me Not S, of course, the 18-year-olds in a row. Again, I think top-rated horses and a fast clear or a safe clear feels safe enough to me. I mean, again, anything can happen. I get all that. We saw Catch Me Not. We saw that little bit of trickiness at the wall, I think, on the team qualifier day, the very first time we saw them jump. But I'm generalizing. Some of these aren't going to go through, I'm sure. But in terms of the safe enough area, I still think we're there. Stop me if I get to one that you really want to say that you feel is risky. But again, I'm moving into the ones that I just want to get through, because I think these are all horses that we want to just see go in, jump clear, and we progress and we talk about them in more detail on Monday night. Ballatinu with Laura Kraut, Richie Vogel with United Touch S, Carl Cook and Caracol de la Rock. Of course, one of the horses that you mentioned, Charlotte, coming in here on a perfect record and perfect record in Paris, and had arrived in as a sub under pressure and delivered. Daniel Coyle and Legacy, the next one to do that. So both those horses rated very similar, 761 and 759 on the ELO. Here's one for you. Here's one that actually came up a couple of times over the course of the year. Gregory Wathelet is coming in. Is that right? Gregory Wathelet and James Bond de Hay.
Yeah, he was originally named as being on the Belgian team, but only jumping the individual. So this was planned in advance. He knew that he was going to do that. But it is a horse that is coming into this arena in a competition atmosphere for the first time. Most of the other horses have already jumped the team competitions and have felt the feel of the stadium with all the people there. And I know that they've had warm-up classes and there have been people there, but I can imagine it's different. But Gregory Wathelet and Bon James Bon de Hay have really been a horse on our radar. They finished on the podium in Windsor, I think, in the 5-star Grand Prix.
Yeah.
The reason that they weren't named on the team for Belgium is because they did have that wobble on the water in Ocala, and it could have been very risky. But they have jumped open water since without a problem. So I think they could definitely be a contender, and I wouldn't be too worried about them not making it into the individual final necessarily, not more than any of the others that we've mentioned before.
I think we're about to get into the good stuff. Maybe one. Okay,
I'm just going to disagreeing with me. Are you disagreeing with me? Okay.
No, all on the same page.
Okay.
Just like the team qualifier, 20 has to become 10. So 75 now has to become 30. We have to come up with some way to draw the line. Let's say the first 20 in ratings, okay, they're not safe. We saw the Swiss not progress to the team final. They actually went in as favorites to win the team. So it will and can happen that some of the big names are not going to progress. That's what makes tomorrow worth tuning in for. I think it's is it lunchtime tomorrow, Charlotte? 1 o'clock Irish
1 o'clock
time?
Irish time.
1 o'clock Irish time, 2 o'clock in Paris, 8 a.m. in the US. I'm getting towards the line. And the line for me is at which point is the 30, where are the top 30 on ratings and who's below the line? So I'm going to keep going with who's above the line for now. Christian Kukuk jumped, I think, one of the really impressive rounds on, I'm going to say probably first round team qualifier with Checker. Contago is here for the Mexicans.
I think I might stop you on that one actually, because they did have 3 down in the qualifier.
Very unusual.
It is very unusual, and they will have gone and taken that in and reassessed and thought about what went wrong. But they are lining out again, which makes me believe that, it wasn't a health issue, like feeling good. They've sorted out what they needed to sort out, and they're going to try again, because it is indeed very unusual. They double clear NAC and help Mexico finish second there. But we do have to, if we are talking about Caracol coming in on a perfect record in Paris, and carrying that form over, we also have to talk about Contago in that same way, that he might carry that form over in Paris.
I'm going to try something. I don't know if it'll work at all, but this is something that you can get, Charlotte, in our form guide. So the form guide will be published, is live or going live maybe. It's certainly live already with all of the combinations. I think it's going to be updated. I don't know if it'll come true for people watching on mobile, but in the form guide, you can get the back pages of the form guide for when you're watching tomorrow. It'll be in running order, and you'll actually be able to see the form on everybody. So just in that moment when we talked about it being an unusual 3 down for Contago, I went straight to the form guide just to check that form. And you can see here on the right-hand side, this most recent, you can see here that actually they're coming off the back of 2 160 clears. Before that, 2 clears at 155. So just the level down there are clears at 155. And then before that, we had 1 down at 160. And then just, you can see it, I'm just putting my mouse on it here on the screen. So you can see actually in their last, in their last 7 rounds coming into Paris, they'd had 1 rail. 5 of those rounds at 160 level. So like unusual what we saw there. And anyway, sorry, the form guide. It's a helpful thing when you're going through. You'll be able to watch like what's happening as we go through. Back to the line. Contago, yeah, unusual. But I mean, absolutely. Do you know who's next on the list if we're going for like quite unusual ones? It's Hermitage Cologne. Surely all of us are going to think Hermitage Cologne, probably one of the horses most people in the world want. You know, when that question goes around, like which horse would you like to sit on? People always say, not as many people say King Edward as I think, but you often hear United Touch, and you often hear anyone that's been asked it in the last 3 months, I've heard more and more people saying Hermitage Cologne is the horse. Hermitage Cologne. If I can have one horse, or that game that people play with the select, the horse that keeps standing. When you name horses, you say who's better. You often see Hermitage, I think, staying there. Another 18-year-old. 18? No, 19. Hang on. 19, is it? Rockefeller. Now that will be interesting for Eduardo Alvarez Aznar.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see. Yeah, like you said, competed in the Rio Olympic Games 8 years ago, which is mind-boggling. Like 8 years ago was in the Olympics and comes back now. Missed the 2021 Olympics, but then thought, let's do it again. Age 19, the first 19-year-old we have seen in a good while compete at the Olympics. Also had an unusual round in the team qualifier. So, but had an incredible start of the 2024 season. They jumped clear in 5 or 6 consecutive 5-star Grand Prix, multiple podium finishes. They were flying it. And I really would love them to do well, because I can't imagine a situation where this is Rockefeller's last competition. At 19 years old. You never know. This is just pure speculation. It's what I would imagine. But retiring horses left and right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But you could imagine that this would be his last competition, and you want him to go on a high. And I think that's what Eduardo would want as well. So I'm going to put him in the 30.
These are horses who are all rated. So I'm now at 745. So the top rated horse in the world, as obviously, I guess, is King Edward, who's on an ELO rating of 815, the highest ELO rating, highest rating that we've ever seen recorded. He reached that mark of 815 actually off the back of second place in Gothenburg, when he was beaten by Lars Kirsten in the on the Sunday in Gothenburg in the World Cup class. He actually pushed, I think, higher up again, Charlotte, didn't he? He pushed all the way up to about 8:19, somewhere in that region.
He went up to. Did he not go up to 8:20?
Did he hit 8:20? Yeah.
World Cup final.
That was like, I mean, it was unprecedented level of performance. He came back a little bit with the 4 down in Stockholm. He dropped back down a little bit again with the rail the other day. But he's in a league of his own in terms of the ratings. We're then moving from 780 with Dynamics, the Belém, and Dubai, that kind of region. They're up there in the 780, 775s where James Conn Cruz has been. He's dropped back a little bit, but not much. I think similar area. We're now down about 745. You're still in the top 30 horses in the world. And we're still talking about the top 20 horses who we're seeing here tomorrow. The cutoff is 720. And that is also going to stay within the top 100 horses in the world. It's going to be, but it's the top 30 horses that we're seeing here in this field where you can only take, of course, 3 horses from each of those big power nations. So that's the reason that there will be a slight difference there. But the cutoff here is 720. I've got 5 or 6 more horses to hit before I hit that cutoff point. And when I talk about the cutoff, I'm saying take the 75 horses that you're looking at in the qualifier tomorrow and draw a line at 30 in terms of ratings and see, because I think what makes this most interesting is who's just above the line and who's just below the line. I do, of course, expect that someone high up will have rails and drop all the way down. I do expect that one of the lower rated combinations is going to go in there, put an early clear in and climb. That's the way it works. There will be movement. But in general, if you're to follow the ratings, you'll get a fairly good read from taking the line as the top 30 in ratings. Urakas for Harry Smulders above the line on a 744. Yuri Mansour, I'm so pleased, will compete in the Paris Olympics. I was worried. I was nervous. I'd really got into the Yuri story. The Team Yellow on the road to Paris, all the family there. Yeah, I love the Yuri energy. And I was disappointed to see them not jump. I was worried that was the end of the road for their Paris campaign. So really pleased to see Miss Blue coming in for Yuri Mansour, rated 740 above the line. Zucchero, really impressive, I think, early in the competition so far. Really good season, probably one mishap. I read a lot into it in Piazza di Siena in Rome, but I mean, very much back on track. And I'd say we'll have you would very much expect to progress on through to Tuesday. Daniel Blumen, above the line on a 739. Philip Weishout and Zinde, again, very impressive so far. I'm not like...
the horse has the 2:16 fault rounds on his record this year, but the fact that they subbed him in, the German team was clear, all 3 of their riders were clear in the team qualifier. United Touch was last to go in that team qualifier, but in the team final, they subbed and let Zinde be last to go. The fact that they did that they trusted Zinde enough to produce a clear with potentially all the pressure on him means that I think that they feel that the horse is really on form and is going to deliver. So I would put a lot of faith in Philip Weishout and Zinde for next week, for tomorrow, for the next couple of days. I'm seeing, yes, I'm backing them.
Yeah, okay. I agree. For anyone just joining, what we're doing is we're taking the top 75 horses that we're going to, or the 75 horses that we're going to see tomorrow. We're applying the ELO rating and we're trying to find a cutoff point of 30. And then we're debating who's above the line, below the line, and helping people find a way into tomorrow's qualifier. What will happen then, of course, is that we'll move into Tuesday. Tuesday, everybody gets reset back to 0. So really, tomorrow night's preview feels like the big Olympic final preview, where we'll talk about win chances, where we'll talk about jump off clear rates, who's got speed. You, of course, have to get yourself into that jump off, but that all is going to be tomorrow night. The only job tomorrow for these Olympians is to go in there and be in the top 30, and then you'll be reset to 0 for Tuesday. trying to find our way into who might be in that 30. We're using ELO, and we're just about to come to the point, I think, where we're at now approaching Charlotte horses who are in the 720 to 730 ratings, and this is the last of the group that I see currently above the line. These are safe if you're just using ELO, which we're unfortunately not. So you've got next Rodrigo Pessoa, who we haven't yet seen jump in the Olympics. But Major Tom was a huge talking horse of 2023.
He's one of my crushes.
Yeah, probably alongside Zucchero, I would think, and maybe Zinde. I would say they would probably be three of the, like, in the way that I think Hermitage is getting so many headlines in 2024. It certainly felt like Major Tom was doing that last year. Little bit of a shakier start to this year, but I don't think there is anyone who has more Olympics than Rodrigo Pessoa in our sport. Like, it's a
in this field, no. Ian Miller did 10.
Oh, Ian Miller, of course, yeah. But what's this? Is this number 8? I think for
this is 8. Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. And he's an Olympic champion as well. He was Olympic champion in 2004 in Athens.
So yeah, I mean, it's
all the experience.
He'll go in tomorrow. He's above the line. Major Tom, rated 729. Harry Charles, Romeo 88, coming off the back of a really impressive in between round. So he was actually a really pivotal round to set Scott up for what Scott did, jumping last for the team. But really, that clear from Harry was such crucial. I mean, of course, there's only three rounds, but under pressure, middle round, yeah, really impressive from young Harry Charles. He'll go in there full of confidence, rated 729, same as, and these ratings are post the results coming in at the weekend or late last week. Cian O'Connor, Morris, okay, they didn't have the round that they would have wanted, but they are above the line. We had a conversation about it before we came on air, and that we were all still feeling the disappointment, I suppose, from a fan point of view, in terms of Ireland not taking home a medal. But we both probably felt that for all of the buzz and excitement that sits around the form of legacy, for all of the quality that sits around the rating and the mark that James Caan-Cruz and Shane Sweetnam have built, Cian O'Connor as the kind of the ambassador, I suppose, of Irish show jumping, probably the rider in the world most associated with delivering when needed and under pressure. I think, look, certainly Morris sits above the line in terms of the ratings going in tomorrow. And there's just no one, like, certainly there's very few riders that you'd want in the field. And I don't just say that as an Irishman, but I think there's very few riders in the field that you'd want more to be going in there tomorrow to try and deliver what's needed. And tomorrow what's needed is a clear to stay in. I would expect, Charlotte, I'm sure you agree, but I would expect Cian to go in. I don't think it would be an unusual story to see Cian high up in the placings on Tuesday.
No, absolutely not. But I think before I go full in on Morris and Cian, I would like to see him jump the qualifier. I'm going to stay neutral. I'm going to stay Switzerland for this preview, but maybe tomorrow's preview, I'll talk a lot differently.
You have to stay on the train all the way through. Like, the station, we're getting this. The train is leaving the station now. Like, it's not picking up passengers tomorrow night. Like, we're in.
I'm getting off. I'm having a toilet break. I'm grabbing a snack. I'm gonna relax. There's multiple trains at this station. I might get on the next one.
I'm in on those. Beside them, you've got McLean Ward and Ilix. You know, talking about Cian and the way McLean rode in Aachen on Ilix, which I think was, okay, without knowing it, but like with the pressure that he would have been under to secure his place as part of the US team, given the form of Carl Cook, the form of Ken Farrington, and the fact that Laura and Ballatino were almost certainly going. McLean and Illick's had a much shorter time together and much less developed form. And I felt he had to ride the Aachen rounds the way he rode the Aachen rounds, which was quite conservatively in order to progress. He is a master at this. And I think he is, okay, he's only just above the line in terms of Illick's rating. But in terms of delivering what's needed, which will be a calm, cool, clear round, I'd have him right there beside Keane in terms of people that know how to do it. Illick's is just above the line for me on a rating of 721, but I feel safe enough that McLean Ward jumps on Tuesday.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you. I'm definitely on the McLean train.
You're on the train, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, especially after Aachen and especially after last week. So no, with you.
Okay, we're about to hit the line. Are you ready?
Hit the line. Yeah.
Okay, so now this is where on ratings we're at the point at which these are the combinations that I think you're in on ratings only, and this is not including mentality, psychology, how the horses are feeling, like what's going on in camp. We don't know any of that stuff. Pressure, types of fences that they're going to jump. We don't know any of that. But this is just using ratings and drawing a line at 30. Simon de Lestra is the last person who sits above the line, Charlotte. And then you've got on the line Odense Odeveld for Italy, Emanuele Cavalli. Now, this is where it gets interesting for me. You've got these two. Then you've got Canadian Mario Deloria. You've got Kim Amen, Imagine, just below here. Olivier Perrault, who actually we both probably thought potentially weakened the French. That didn't really prove to be the case. I think probably one of the first big standout moments that we saw in the team competition was the Olivier Perrault clear, the first clear, I think, of the first clear. This is the area now where I think you can begin to pay close attention to these. You would expect, I guess, that Olivier Perrault is in incredible flow state and confidence. Kim Amen hasn't had a rail since she was subbed in here for the Dutch. Both of those feel like they're going to want to be considered above the line and in Tuesday's final. But right now they're just outside where the ELO rating would have them. Anyone else that's below this? I'll tell you the big one, Charlotte. This is a train that you're going to have to talk about. But you know where I'm going. Probably the standout moment, I guess, the most pressure moment, like one of the moments that you'll watch back, or I feel I'll watch back, and I didn't think Jefferson was going to jump clear. I thought the US were going to win gold. And actually, watching Scott, it's a real masterclass. It's a really, really masterful round under so much pressure, an entirely silent stadium to take home gold for his nation. Thought it was really special. Jefferson on ratings has had a poor 18 months. Sam Watson would argue that's how he's had to be campaigned to keep Scott in rankings and to keep this journey going. Scott not having as many horses at the moment as he had at different times. But Jefferson is a big one for me, Charlotte, in terms of the horses that may or may not be in the final. Where do you see it?
I have to get on the Jefferson train, especially after what he did on Friday. And I'm going to tell you why. I have reasons. And I went through our form guide. I went through the form sheets at the back of our form guide. And I went and had a look at all the horses that have, in their last 8 outings at 4 and 5 star, 150 and above, only had either 0 or 4 penalties or like 1 or 2 penalties. And there's about 7 or 8 that jump out. And, you have the ones that you expect, like Leonie, Alexis Blue, who entered these championships on a perfect record. And then they did have a fence down in the qualifier, but that's fine. It's 0 or 4. We have Dubai Cedro for Julia Ebaya. We have Daniel Coyle with Legacy, Laura Kraut, Balutinu, Caracol de la Rock, and we have Scott Brash and Hello Jefferson. So actually, in his last 8 rounds, and his are all at 5-star 160, he hasn't had more than 1 fence down. So, and especially after what he did under pressure last Friday, there's no way that I can now come here and say that I don't think he's going to qualify for the individual final. I think he will. I think he will. Another horse that's interesting that's also under our line of 30 is Stefan de Freitas Barcia's Primavera, who is the Pan American champion, if I'm not mistaken. So also a horse to look out for, who knows how to kind of deliver under pressure of needing to win a medal. I don't think the Pan American Games and the Olympic Games would be on the same level, but it's definitely up there pressure-wise. So there's a couple there that are definitely worth looking out for.
There's one interesting piece that's just coming to me before we wrap up for this evening. I'm just getting through to me here. All the different tabs that come up on screen that the data science team and the analysts send through, and sometimes they send them through live, which is helpful. I'm looking at there; it's listed everybody in the whole competition by win chance, by top 3 chance, and then by chance of making the final. I'm really not interested tonight in the win chance and the top 3 chance, because I think that's for tomorrow night's show. You can really look silly doing that stuff before and have another round to jump, and I do think that'll affect the form and the ratings going in. But I do think that the percentage chance of making the final is interesting. And what's interesting for me with it is not necessarily the breakdown. So I've got people at the very top: King Edward, Leone J, Electric Blue P, Balotinu, who's actually got a slightly higher chance than all of those 3. Interesting. But what that percentage is, and it's 76%. 76 and 77% is where the top guys in the field sit. Where I'm going with that, and it's a really big reminder and thing that I hope Eckritons can bring across, kind of something, it's definitely something that we feel strongly about. King Edward's chance of winning, I'll just touch on it for a moment, is 7% currently. And this is the top rated horse that we've ever seen. It is they are, and King Edward is a generational talent. It is the explosion, the big star, this one-off that you see every so often. It's still a 7% chance of winning the Olympics. And that is because they're taking on unbelievable horses, and equally there is so much jeopardy. 12 to 14 fences. Tomorrow, I don't know, will it be just below 160, or how this will work? Will he go full 160? Who knows? The first round of the team was probably bigger than I expected it to be. But where I'm going, Charlotte, is 76 and 77% chance of making the final is the top of the field. And that's your Leone J, Balotinu, King Edward, Electric Blue P. They're all around that, which means you're looking at 3 and 4 times that they go through. Not 4 and 4, not 9 and 10. It's absolutely no guarantee. It's 3 times in every 4 that these horses will progress in a scenario like this. It means that you're probably going to see 5 or 6 of the big guns go on when you've got 30 of them, 30 horses above the line. You start getting down closer to, say, Yuri Mansour and Zucchero and Contago and Ilex. We have them all around the 50% mark. And then you go a little bit lower. But and then you go kind of into the odds against, people who are just odds against of being in that top 30. I think it's worth noting, though, that actually that's why you have to tune in tomorrow lunchtime. And that's why you have to, this kind of constant thing people talk about horses not being machines. It's what makes show jumping so great is actually that there's so much jeopardy. There's so much that can happen. A single rail can be so expensive. A single rail early makes you have to sit and you're digging your fingernails into the palms of your hand for the rest of the whole round as you watch someone try to get round and not knock a rail and try and stay in the top 30. Like it's going to be a really, really special afternoon. We're watching 75 of the best horses in the world jump. We've been waiting for it for months and maybe longer than that. A lot of these riders and owners and grooms have been waiting for it for their whole lives. Like to get to here, to have a chance to jump tomorrow in the Olympics is going to be amazing for them in an individual sense. And all they want is to be in the top half, the top 30. Jump clear, jump with a 4, but keep it fast. If you can, it's going to be on all the major places. Discovery, we've been watching it on. If you're in the US, it's Peacock, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So, Charlotte, before we go, I'm going to ask you, not for someone who you think is going to miss out, but give me 2 or 3 who you think are the safe ones that you expect to be putting up on your big preview tomorrow night.
Safe ones, it has to be, I have to say King Edward. I don't want to, I will watch an individual final without King Edward, but I don't want to see it without him in there.
Yeah.
He deserves to go in there and at least have a shot at it. So King Edward has to be in there for me. I'd say Martin Fuchs is hungry for one, especially after not being able to qualify the team. He is not going to leave anything to chance. I know I am a 100% Dynamic backer, and I think she'll be into. But like if Martin is going to be just so hungry for it. So Martin Fuchs in EA, and then I'm going to go for Philip Whitehouse in Day as well. They are looking really, really strong. Silver medalist at the Europeans last year, and I'm seeing that form come through now here. Feeling good. Philip's feeling good about the horse. Those are my 3 certainties. What about yours, Dee?
I'm going to go for the Flow State Substitution Olympics. I'm going to go with people that outside of the ratings, people that I think have jumped really well in the last couple of days and will hope against hope that, I'm thinking in particular here, Daniel Coyle, Legacy, Kim Amen, and Imagine. Yeah. And you're hoping against hope. Like neither of those ended up with a medal. Both of them were perfect. Kim in particular having to come in so late. Olivier Perrault for France is someone similar. So I'm actually hoping to see really big rounds from those 2 or those 3. Delighted Yuri Mansour is in as well with Miss Blue. I think they're just around that line of the 30 for me. And the fun, the emotion, the size of the opportunity to grow the sport in Brazil, I think the final would be a better thing to have Yuri Mansour in there as well. Contago, probably the other that I would name that I feel didn't do himself justice in the team, and you'd love to see again from a Mexican point of view. I think Contago could really go and put up something very special. I agree with all of yours. I wouldn't like to see a final without King Edward. There's a few more that you could apply that to, but we'll see where that goes. For now, I think, Charlotte, we will go and prep ourselves. We have a morning to go. So we're back tomorrow lunchtime to see 75 riders become 30. All the scores will be reset to 0. We will be back tomorrow night for the final preview of Paris 2024. Tomorrow night will be the final. Sam's in Paris. I think he'll probably be back with us tomorrow night, Charlotte. I hope or expect he'll join us tomorrow night. But for now, thank you. And last sleep before the individual qualifier.